Good morning, everyone. Welcome to FBC Radio Live's Tuesday. Week 14 is officially in the books. That's right, John. We are coming off a big Patriots win. I haven't said that in seems like forever. Obviously, the Patriots topped the Arizona Cardinals. The Kyler Murray free Arizona Cardinals. Obviously, he went down very early on in yesterday's game, and obviously that's the unfortunate piece of news that's coming out of obviously this week. But from a Patriots standpoint, they won a game that they really needed to win and now find themselves right back in the mix for the playoffs. So, John, were you impressed by the Patriots? Because, there were things that I saw from the offense that I was very impressed with. There's still obviously issues, but I think they're getting better. And I think there's going to be more of an emphasis on potentially pushing the ball downfield more because we've seen it starting to work a little bit.
The key to that, obviously, is to play the offensive line. If Mac Jones has time to throw, then he can try to get the ball downfield. I was just happy to see Hunter Henry engaged. I think that's a weapon that they used last year quite a bit. He tied for the most receiving touchdowns by tight ends last year. And he hasn't been productive this year. So I think that's a key. If you get Hunter Henry working the middle of the field, that can open up some things underneath a little bit and also along the sidelines. He's a good player, and I think they need to get him involved, but that's all going to depend on the play of the offensive line. 2 for 4 in the red zone. That's not great, but it's better than it's been. Again, you're going against the defense in Arizona that's not very good in the red zone. They really put up 20 points because their defense scored one of the touchdowns, but overall, just a good win to get to 7-6. You're tied with the Jets and with the Chargers for the final playoff spot, and you hold a tiebreaker. So you head down to the final month of the season where you have a chance to qualify for the playoffs. And next week is another big one because it's a short week in Vegas against the Raiders. We know how Belichick's former coaches do against him. They tend to really get pumped up for that game. So that'll be another big one because the last 3 are going to be very, very difficult. But I thought defensively, they played solidly. Again, it did help that Kyler Murray got injured on the 3rd play of the game, and instead of Kyler Murray, now you had to come back Colt McCoy, which is a completely different quarterback.
And Colt McCoy credit. I mean, he's a veteran guy, so he's not the worst backup quarterback in the world. But yeah, obviously, the moment Kyler Murray goes down, that whole dynamic and something that we talked about yesterday, the concern with this Patriots team is the mobile quarterback. Well, Colt McCoy isn't Kyler Murray, so that element completely goes away. And that's not. Again, that's not taking anything away from the Patriots' performance. It's just the reality of what happened. Both teams needed to adjust, and the Patriots adjusted very well. Josh Uche ended 3-4 sacks, 3.5 sacks, something like that. The team defensively is still, for the majority, a very, very tough unit to go up against, no matter who you are. They're obviously well coached, and I think they have a lot of talent on that team, especially in the defense. It's just been a matter of finding what works on offense. And at times this team is able to put up points, but it hasn't been consistent. And, I think Mac Jones' first interception in about 4 weeks, I'm not really faulting him for that. I mean, he got hit, his arm got hit, the ball got popped up in the air. That wasn't, we've seen bad interceptions from Mac Jones. That was not one of them. That's just sometimes it's just the nature of the game. It's going to happen. His arm's going to get hit and that ball is going to get knocked up into the air. But I thought he was very decisive on a couple of big throws down, especially when the game was still kind of hanging in the balance a little bit. He was throwing the ball down the field. You mentioned Hunter Henry. That was, a big play down the seam, something we really haven't seen in what feels like 3 or 4 years since Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski were doing that. So a lot of things to be encouraged about, moving forward with the Patriots. I know there was someone out there that claimed they'd rather see the Chargers in the playoffs. As a Patriots fan, that's third. All right. That's I don't understand. I've never understood the mindset of I'd rather them miss the playoffs for a better draft spot. No. Look at Mark Jones. Look at Jack Jones. Draft position doesn't matter. Certainly not when you're talking about being a potential top 12 versus a top 20 pick. At that point, it just doesn't matter. So the idea of missing the playoffs in order to get a slightly better draft pick, that's Again, that's why GMs get fired. Okay. That's why teams continue to stay in the tank. No, if you're the Patriots, at all costs, you want to make the playoffs. I don't care if they're destined for a one and done against the Buffalo Bills. It doesn't matter to me. They need to make the playoffs because that's how you grow as a team. And I think what we're seeing, on top of obviously, opening up that door for a playoff berth, is some progress offensively, and that's really kind of what you want to see mostly from this Patriots team.
Yeah, I mean, if you're the worst team that qualifies for the playoffs and get beat in the wild card round, you end up with the 19th pick in the draft. If you're the best team that doesn't make the playoffs, you get the 18th pick. So there's really no big difference there. So I can see if you're a Chargers fan, you'd like to see the Chargers make the playoffs instead of the Patriots. But why would a Patriots fan rather see the Chargers make it, unless they don't want to go to Kansas City and get embarrassed? But you know what? You have to play the game. You go out there, you get, if you're competitive, maybe you pull off an upset, which it would be a major upset if they were to win in Kansas City or in Buffalo. But nonetheless, it's good to get that type of experience for your quarterback, let him grow, and for your entire team. And, you can at least end the season knowing that you qualified for the playoffs for the second year in a row, and you can build off of that. But they're right there. Sunday is going to be a big game against the Raiders. And as I mentioned earlier, after that, you've got Cincinnati, Miami, both in Foxborough. Now, the weather can be a factor there. We saw that Miami had difficulty dealing with 55-degree temperatures in LA the other night. They actually had heaters on the sideline in 55-degree temperatures. What the heck is Miami going to do in Buffalo this weekend when it's probably going to be 12 degrees and, 2-degree wind chill factor? What are they going to, burn the sideline to stay warm? So that could be a factor with the weather when Cincinnati, which is a cold weather city, so they should be equipped to it. But Miami, you don't know. Miami coming to Foxborough in January, that's not necessarily a pleasant sight for them. So they had to get that one out of the way last night, right? Because now you're away for a week, you feel better about yourself, and you've got another winnable game against the Raiders on Sunday.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You're going up against a team who, is on the outside looking in, but kind of in your ballpark. Like, I'm not saying that they're on the same level, but obviously we're not putting the Patriots up on the Bills or the Bengals or the Chiefs level, but there's a happy medium there, where you have a bunch of teams that are pretty good, not great, certainly have flaws. I mean, every team has flaws in this league, but these more so than the top tier teams. And I kind of put the Raiders and the Patriots to some extent in that group, although I believe obviously the Patriots, I think right now we're in a better situation. So, you're talking about two fairly even teams competing relatively the same play positioning, because, these are teams that are going to probably be your first or second wild card. So, yeah, it is a big game. And to your point, the last time Josh McDaniels faced a Bill Belichick Patriots team, we all remember that display in Denver to move to 6-0 with the fist pumping and the being carried off like he was Rudy and all that stuff, and then how quickly things turned sour in Denver after that. But it's a great point to bring up. Like, yeah, you know what? Former coaches sometimes, I don't want to say they have Bill Belichick's number, but they've been able to put up clearly more of a fight than I think we've imagined. We'll see what happens with this team, because again, you have a game changer in Devontae Adams. That's going to be a focus for them. Is Josh Jacobs going to play in this game? That's another player that the Patriots will have to focus on if he's going to be healthy and ready to go. So definitely a big win for the Patriots, no doubt. They're now 7-6. Now they can actually realistically look at the playoffs as like an option and not just, back their way in. And that's the other thing too. They put up points. I mean, they're really good defensively. In this day and age, they have a really good defense. It doesn't matter if you can't score on offense. And that's kind of goes back to what I say all the time. It's not defense that wins championships, it's offense. But it's nice to have a nice defense, and it certainly gives you a nice little leg up. And in which case, the Patriots are in good shape, because if you look across the board, well, we've talked about Buffalo. Yeah, Buffalo's got a really good defense, but I think the Patriots defense is better than both the Chiefs and right now the Bengals. I think the Bengals are getting better defensively. But the Patriots have a knack for turning the ball over and creating sacks. And that's a huge, huge thing when it comes to defensive efficiency and effectiveness.
Yeah, I mean, they put pressure on Colt McCoy last night, which was important. it didn't directly lead to that big play, which DeAndre Hopkins caught the ball, fumbled it, and then it was picked up and returned for a touchdown. But, they can put pressure on the quarterback for sure. So, you have to see what happens again on Sunday against the Raiders, because Devontae Adams is obviously, we both agree, maybe the best receiver in football. His production has gone down a little bit because he went from Aaron Rodgers to Derek Carr. And at times it seems like the Raiders ignore him, which makes no sense. He had some games where you kind of forget that he's on the Raiders, and then when they throw to him and he makes a nice play, you go, oh yeah, Devontae Adams is on the Raiders. So you got to use him more if you're the Raiders. In terms of the injuries, also the Patriots are going to, possibly be without Ramondre Stevenson, their best running back. So, although it sounds like he's going to, if he misses any time, may only be 1 week. We'll see what happens with his injury. But they, still tried to run the football pretty effectively with the rookies that they used last night. So, you can replace running backs, right? I mean, be at the same level.
The Patriots
as
do it all
your
the
starter.
time.
They've always done it, right? Yeah,
Like
I mean,
they've been a running back like producing mill for years now.
Guys that go out there and do the job. Look, the best running back the Patriots have had of my lifetime is Curtis Martin. He was here for 3 years. They did get to 1 Super Bowl with Curtis Martin, and they've won 2 Super Bowls with who was it? Last name was Smith. Antoine Smith. There you go. Thank you for being the younger guy who remembers things sometimes better than me. But Antoine Smith, Corey Dillon was a stud. That's why I think that 04 Patriots team was the best Patriots team ever, because they had everything. You had Brady playing at a high level. You had, Corey Dillon was potentially the leading rusher in football that year. He missed one game and cost them the rushing title.
1,600 yards.
Yeah, he was a force. I mean, they had everything that year. They had both sides of the ball, special teams, the whole bit. So, yeah, you win 2 Super Bowls with Antoine Smith. Then you go to Corey Dillon, and look, LeGarrette Blount was a big part of a Super Bowl winner too. So, yeah, they've really done running by committee. I do like Ramondre Stevenson. If they don't have him, they can still run the football against a Raiders team that's not really good at stopping the run. So, it sets up to be an interesting game. And the Vegas line would indicate that right here. The game in Vegas, and the Raiders are 1.5 point favorites. So they're saying the Patriots are a little better, but with home field advantage, the Raiders are a slight favorite. Although I think the Patriots are going to have a huge following there in Vegas. I seem to know a lot of people that are going to the game, and I think a ton of Bostonians are going to be out there for a couple of days before, enjoy the warm weather, see some shows, and then go to the game.
Yeah, it kind of makes me want to go out there.
Yeah,
I'm itching right now. I love it out there.
Yeah,
that's my new home away from home. But
yeah.
I mean, it's going to be a big game, no doubt. So I'm excited for it, and I'm sure Patriots fans will too. So, all right, let's move on a little bit. Actually, we're going to shift to the NBA, John. And actually, you know what? Real quick before we get to the NBA, obviously, the news this morning was something that was expected, but unfortunately, Mike Leach has passed away at age 61 after complications from a heart condition. Obviously, yeah, very sad. At only 61, one of the more loved college coaches out there, and certainly, at Mississippi State. Well, it's just a sad story. Unfortunately, this happened Sunday morning. I apparently had this health emergency, and the news since then really hasn't been good. So the expectation was he wasn't going to survive, and that was made official this morning as he passed overnight. So very, very sad news coming out at just 61. I mean, that's just way too young.
Yeah, I mean, that's only a year and a half older than I am. And the thing about Mike Leach is he almost seemed like the anti-college football coach. Yeah. Like he just had this kind of lip, and he was a quirky guy, and, talked about eating candy. And, he was a character. I have a very close friend of mine who doesn't watch college football, but likes Mike Leach. You would see some of the videos of him conversing back and forth with the media. Said, I just kind of like that guy. He seems real. Like so many of these college coaches are just such salesman, and he just seemed like a pretty good guy. It's just so sad to hear about this, and life is precious, and prayers to his family, and may he rest in peace. But he was someone you always kind of rooted for, because he was certainly a character and beloved by most of his players.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, you very rarely get that, and when you say college coach, I think Nick Saban, which he's successful because of how he is. But you get that business, like, this is that's the impression you get, and Mike Leach was the opposite. So very, very sad to see that pop up this morning, although again, it was expected. So no, anyways, I didn't want to bring up the NBA before we got off the air today because they have officially changed some of the league award trophies, and most notably, they renamed the MVP award after Michael Jordan. And I mean, look, it makes sense, right? I mean, that seems like a pretty good solution. I mean, I'm sure there's going to have some people that are like, oh, well, he's not this, that, the other. Maybe some LeBron fans. I don't know. But overall, I think it's. I think it's. I like that. You know what I mean? I like naming these type of awards. I like taking away the just the business name, the MVP award, the most no, like give it some flavor, give it a little bit of history, and I think it also helps. It helps. It just helps keep the history in the present. So, of course, you have the Michael Jordan MVP award, Akeem Olajuwon Trophy for Defensive Player of the Year, Wilt Chamberlain Trophy for Rookie of the Year, John Havlicek Trophy for Sixth Man of the Year, and the George McCann Trophy for Most Improved Player are the five MVP awards. So, I like it a lot. I really do. I think it's, like I said, it's a great service to the history of this game. We talk about the Hunt Trophy and in the AFC all the time, the AFC Championship, and the George Halas Trophy in the NFC. I mean, that gets put in the forefront every single championship weekend because their names are on the trophy, and you're like, oh yeah, that's right. These guys were crucial in the development of what we now know as the NFL. And I think you can look back in 10, 15 years. I mean, hell, there are players on this list that I've never seen. Obviously, I never watched Wilt Chamberlain play. Like there are teams or players out there that, again, are already in the history books that need to be continually put back in the forefront. And I think this is a great way to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime the league can get Michael Jordan involved somehow, I know he owns Charlotte, but he's kind of not very visible. He's Greta Garbo-esque. Like, you just don't see much of Michael Jordan except for when he did his documentary a few years ago. And at times it felt like maybe we're better off not seeing too much of Michael Jordan. He still, got a lot of hate there for former teammates and just about everybody else, but that's kind of what made him so great. But yeah, that I think is a great thing for the league. Now, Kareem has the most MVPs. He won 6. Gordon Russell won 5, and LeBron won 4. But Kareem has another award, which is more of a humanitarian award, which I think Kareem is more proud of than any of the MVPs. So that works out well. He's such a thoughtful, bright guy who's very socially conscious that I think that award fits Kareem better. With Jordan, that's great. Hopefully, when whoever wins the MVP, that maybe Jordan's there to present them. I doubt it, unless they go to Charlotte or go to his home in Illinois or wherever he's living, or go to the local golf course. You're probably not going to see him. Although he did make it to the 75th anniversary team, which I thought was the highlight of the weekend, last year's All-Star weekend. And he embraced LeBron, which I thought was really cool. The two greatest players ever embracing is a pretty cool moment. So, that's a really good one. Havlicek at sixth man. He was the first official sixth man. Is great. Olajuwon for Defensive Player of the Year. That makes a ton of sense. And look, you got to give some award to Wilt Chamberlain. The guy's numbers are just astronomical. So
his scoring numbers, right?
Pretty cool
on the basketball
his scoring
court.
numbers. Yeah, I mean, on and off the court, right? Exactly. Yeah, but Wilt lived a full 62 or 63 years. That's for sure.
Well,
right? He got a lot in that time.
Let's do a quick circle back to Seinfeld, because if you remember. The ass man, as if you look over my shoulder here, actually you can see the license plate hanging up on the wall. But if you remember the ass man episode, they were trying to figure out who would have a license plate, and I believe it was Kramer who said maybe it's Wilt Chamberlain's. So
right.
But I just squeezed some sort of Seinfeld reference in there, and I couldn't work in the chucker angle, so we'll have to go with a mention of Wilt Chamberlain.
Well, I mean, maybe they could give an award for, George, for those sneakers he was wearing that he still couldn't jump. He was supposed to be, a leaper with those sneakers that he got from, what was the guy's name that was he was kind of a weird guy. He referred to himself in the third person. He was hitting on him. Jimmy. Yeah, Jimmy. Yeah, Jimmy.
Don't touch Jimmy.
Don't touch Jimmy. Yeah.
Oh man, yeah. Well,
but those are good. Those are good awards. Those are perfect. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. And look, I mean, Jordan's meant more to basketball than any player in the history of the sport. I don't even think it's close.
No,
right? I mean, he took it from point A to point whatever to an exclamation point. He meant that much to the sport. I mean, we talk about Magic and Bird when they entered the league in 1979. I mean, still in the first year of Magic and Bird, the finals were on tape delay, or some of the games were on tape delay. Once Jordan came over in '84 and everything exploded with sneakers, and next thing you know, it becomes the most popular sport in China. I mean, he's to me still the most popular basketball player, and the guy hasn't played in nearly 20 years. He sells more sneakers than anyone, and he does it without ever being out there, which is kind of pretty cool, actually. He doesn't really have to
it's almost kind of the mystique, the mystique of it. Like,
exactly.
Oh, it's Michael Jordan. You don't see him all the time, that type of thing. And yeah, his personality adds to it. He's not like, you didn't see Bobby Orr a lot, I'm sure, but like the guy who's probably the most humble, non-assuming guy you'll ever meet in your life. Michael Jordan is not that.
No,
and I'm not saying that. I don't mean that as like. I like both things. Like I mean, I like the quiet. Just I'm that type of guy, Bobby Orr, and I also like look. I'm the best in the world. I was the best there was, and I'm still that guy, Michael Jordan. I like both those mentalities.
And the thing is, too, it kind of sums up both sports, right? I mean, hockey's for the most part, this humble sport. At the time Orr was playing, it was 97% Canadian. I just remember one point there was a Boston reporter that was interviewing Bobby Orr's parents, and they said, "You must be very proud of Bobby." And they said, "Well, we're proud of all of our kids." They were very, very humble people. Basketball is more about the star. I mean, look, Bobby Orr was a phenomenal star, but basketball, not that it's just an individual sport. It's obviously a team sport, but we see when these matchups take place at night on TNT or ESPN. It's like Jason Tatum, Boston Celtics faced Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors in a rematch of last year's final. It's always the player ahead of the team. That's the way they market it, and that's why it's so popular.
And look, you gotta think too. Like you have you still have oh geez, I just completely lost my train of thought. I got sidetracked here looking at a message that I just got. Yeah, so I mean, you have what were we talking about? The awards, right? The Michael Jordan Award, all that stuff. Help me out, John. I'm sinking here.
We're like two old guys here with a stroke or something.
I feel like
we were talking about the awards.
Yeah, I feel like there's this the episode of South Park where they're trying to get the licenses away from the old people. They're in the town hall, meeting to try to set up what they're arguing about, and then by the end of it, they have no idea what they're even arguing or why they're there. And it's like, we need to set up a meeting. That's how I feel right now.
Sometimes it happens.
Yeah. Look, I'm a week into not having any caffeine, so there's going to be times where like I feel a little bit out of sorts, so to speak. But but no, yeah. Going back to the Jordan point, I mean, the guy is that's why he's looked at, like, again, like you said, there's been players that have won more championships. There are players that have won more MVPs. Obviously, players that have scored more points. But the cultural impact and just the overall impact, like Nike wasn't Nike before Jordan. Nike was a waffle shoe piece of plastic that got put underneath a flat old style sneaker. That's it. And then Nike became this global brand that is now, I mean, just again, pretty wild. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see if any other sport follows suit. I mean, there are obviously named trophies in other sports, but for example, like I think about the Super Bowl MVP trophy, and I honestly, the way I see it, it's just a matter of time, and that time being, whenever Brady actually retires. I'd say that, I mean, that's the obvious choice, right?
For the Super Bowl MVP?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it makes 100%.
And I think, again, that's something that probably should happen. I mean, this isn't just like a great play. Obviously, you're talking about, the greatest player in the modern sport. So I think that is that is something that will happen. I don't think it's a matter of if. And then again, you could talk about some of the other awards and stuff like that.
Yeah, hockey has them, right? You get the Hart Trophy, the Selkie Award, whatever. So that's good too. And being a Barry Bonds will never happen. I mean, they won't even put the man in the Hall of Fame. But the National League MVP should be the Barry Bonds Award, since he won seven MVPs, and no other baseball history won. So, but that's never going to happen. Obviously, they'll give it to Paul. They'll name it the Paul Goldschmidt Award or the Ernie Banks Award before they name it for Barry Bonds.
Yeah, no, sorry, John, that is never going to happen.
No, that's one thing I can go to the bank with.
Yeah, we can try. We can start a campaign, but
we're gonna lose.
Yeah, we're gonna lose. Yeah, trust me, we're gonna lose.
Landslide.
So, yeah, landslide lost there, and I would not expect anything otherwise. So, all right, that's gonna do it for us here today. We will be back tomorrow to give our thoughts on well, not tomorrow. I'm sorry, Thursday, to give our thoughts on Thursday Night Football, and of course, get us ready for Week 15 in the NFL. And for all those out there that are actually in the fantasy playoffs, go take it. All right. I didn't make it, so I don't want to hear about your fantasy football playoffs. I don't want to hear about your wins. I don't care. I don't care at all. I hate fantasy football. I think it's the worst thing ever. Obviously, I'm a little bitter, John. I'm not feeling it right now after a very, very poor season. It's just it is what it is. So anyways, thank you everyone for tuning in, and we will talk to you on Thursday.